CalTrans does it. We are big. We have 12,000 pieces of equipment. We got 19,000 people. We got a lot of money, but a lot of money doesn't mean you're good. Doesn't mean you're one of the ones to look out for or the best in the world. And so one of the things I'll talk about a little bit is just maybe brag a little bit what we're doing on technology and innovation. Now I was thinking on the plane down here, I was thinking about the 12,000 piece of vehicle and talking about innovation. I started writing it on an iPad last night, and then I realized I can't even read the iPad because I can't see it, I can't get it big enough, so I'm going to wing it. One of the things that innovation-wise that people, I think, throughout the nation and CalTrans, we don't really think of it because it's something we've been doing for over 100 years, is we build a lot of our equipment. 15 different types, classes of vehicles we build. We build about 300 to 400 pieces of equipment every year. That's basically one a day moves out of our equipment shop that we build. To me, I think that's innovation. You know, I found a cool little pen in there. It looks like a space rocket, and I thought that was a real cool innovative because it had rubber tires. And here we're building 15 types of pieces of equipment just with our own staff and having to do that all the time. I thought that's innovative. The other thing we're doing innovation-wise is we're not only buying it, but we're also looking, we used to be low bid only, and now we did a pilot, not talk about low bid, but get best value. The best value we were able to purchase is bigger cab and chassis. What that related to is it was a bigger cab and chassis. We were able to redesign the plow in the front. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but we saved tens of thousands of dollars for not having our windshields broken because we got a bigger plow. I think that's innovation. That's so much innovation that we're already sending it to the governor's office on what we're doing to save money for California. The other thing that we're working on is, you know, we can, I think your group here, and I know through the AASHTO, is to lease buyback program. And we're looking at buying equipment that we could buy for $50,000 in 3 years, sell it back for 41, and we're basically buying a brand new car again. I was looking, how can I get my daughter to get one of those, because that wouldn't be a bad program. So I think that's some of the innovation that we're doing there. We're looking at GPS units, right? We're putting all of the equipment that we're coming on is going to have GPS units, because I think if you don't have the data, you really don't know how to manage that fleet. I know some of the stuff we had an equipment reduction. And we had some chain controllers where they have people in a van when there's a break, and we rotate them around to make sure people have chains. And they said, we need to get rid of those. I said, well, I know they're working. I said, how many times have they been used last winter? And they said, none. I said, well, I know they were working because I saw them on the news when they were talking to the chain control people. But we just didn't put the information in. Can't get rid of my piece of equipment because I use it every day. GPS doesn't say that. So how do you manage if you don't have the right data? Also, innovatively with the GPS units, I think we've saved about $2 million just in fuel savings alone. People not speeding. Slowing down reduces your fuel. We had people that are stealing our vehicles even though it says that it has GPS units on it. And with after 30 minutes of them stealing it, trying to cover it up in a barn or something on their road, Highway Patrol shows up and they want to know how they get there. And so maybe we need to put the definite GPS unit on the side of the vehicle so they don't even steal it. But that's some of the innovation that we're doing, being able to manage with some of that. Some of the other things that we're doing in the state is we're want to get into autonomous vehicles, autonomous technology. I was a little bummed that that Colorado had the first, Colorado over here had the first autonomous attenuator. That's something that I wanted to make sure that we did, and I want to make sure, how do we get in on the ground floor with that? How do we get on the ground floor? Things that were possible are now more than possible. How do we make it happen? We're looking at hydrogen vehicles, right? When we're buying equipment now, one of the first things we look at is it electric? Is it hydrogen? Is it hybrid? And then what is it? Our governor is saying that we need to purchase basically about 30% of our light-duty fleet needs to be basically zero emission or electric or hybrid of some sort and get credits for it. We at CalTrans are saying if there is a conversion, we'll do 100%. Along with that is, how do we make sure we have the fuel or something, the power to make it happen? Where's all our electric vehicle charging stations? If you buy a Tesla right now, you can go from here to New York, I think, on a charge based on where their locations are. Why don't we have that? hydrogen highway, electric highway. Before, one of the innovative things we wanted to do was just-in-time fuel. Well, why not just make it yourself? Hydrogen. How do we get that on a statewide contract so we can make our own fuel for our own hydrogen vehicles? If there is a disaster, we don't have to worry about getting fuel to us. We can make our own. We're working with one of the companies up here, is it Global Environmental, for a hydrogen sweeper. That's what I was trying to get. I want to be able to say it's the first one in the state. They said, yes, you could say it's the first one in the state. I said, can I say it's the first one in the United States? They said, yes, you're going to have the first one in the United States. I said, can I say it's the first one on the planet? And they said, well, with this weight, this size, yes, it'll be the first one on the planet. How do we get on board with that? Historically, we were just talking about gas, right? We're just talking about how do we get a piece of equipment for us. Now we're looking at how do we get a hydrogen vehicle? How do you have a hydrogen highway? The art of the possible. One of the things, I'm on the subcommittee on research and innovation. And one of the things that we find is we vote for research projects that you put forward. And we have basically a panel like you. We all sit around the state. We vote on what we want to advance in research. And one of the things that we have a hard time doing, and what I challenge you to do this week, or even in the future, is how do you make sure you not only take away what you're doing today? You know what you need to do today. You're reacting to fixing something, maintaining something, doing something. But how do you set time aside to think of the possible? You really need to sit down and think of the possible, because day to day you're just doing your job. But I don't think if you're thinking of the possible, then I don't think you're doing your job 100%. People say, well, this is the way we've been doing it for 25 years. I tried to get Gatorade to our maintenance forces because it's 100 and some odd degrees out there. The engineers get to go home when it's 84 in the office. And the maintenance people are out there, 135 degrees, equipment shop, sump pump doesn't even work, and it's 135 under there fixing it. They don't get to go home, but we can't buy Gatorade. We can't buy Gatorade, we can't buy bug spray, and we can't buy sunscreen that causes cancer. If we did it the way we did 25 years ago, we'd just say, go do it because I said so. Talk about innovation, we're talking about equipment people actually working with a company called Elevate for employee engagement. How many of you have talked to your staff about having a coach on how you made decisions, how you can make better decisions? How do you become a better leader? How do you get employee engagement? One of the things I have a sign as I leave my office that says our employees are you are our most valuable resource, which is our employees. You can have innovation, you can have any technology, but if you don't have the people to do it, all you have is a pile of paper that goes nowhere, or thoughts and dreams without the people. Talking about new technology, and Lisa's supposed to give me the 2 minutes, so I'm probably getting kind of close, but talking about new technology, talking about the hydrogen, we're talking about, we had a ballsy beam. I don't know if you know about it, but it's a ballsy beam. It's a safety piece of equipment that's a mobile safety device that I know Larry Orcutt was really big on trying to get out. It's basically putting up a metal barrier between you and the traveling public. We were in operation and a guy got both his legs amputated behind the cone zone during a pothole in one of our districts. Larry went to his side and the guy says, please don't let it happen to anyone else. He says, I won't. He helped with the UC Davis to develop a ballsy beam. I put GPS units on the ballsy beam, find out we're not using them because it takes an extra person to run the ballsy beam. So I just had a conversation with my safety person, says, we have a safety device that's going to save lives, and I may have to sell them because GPS says we're not using them. So I'm not the one to give up that easy, so I said, look, I will buy what I need to do. I'll give whoever crew wants to use it, I will give them an operator to use it 100%. That's over and above any of their crew people. She says, well, I don't know if they'll still do that. I said, okay, I'll give them an operator to use the ballsy beam, and I'll give them 2 extra people on their crew to use it, to keep them safe. I said, will they do it for that? So some of you out there in the audience, I know you're CalTrans people, so you don't know about that yet, but I'm willing to give up 3 people if you use that ballsy beam. Get too many people killed on the job, it's not something that we used to do. Not something that, let's just do it the way we've done when we grew up doing it. Also talking about innovation and maybe alternative autonomous technology. One of the things we're doing in CalTrans, I don't know if you know, but we are going to a 6-inch stripe on all of our traffic guidance. So a 6-inch stripe. I'm getting some people nervous, especially the manufacturer, because I'm asking for a 5-year warranty. 5-year warranty with a retained value, which means once you lay it down 5 years later, if it doesn't have a reflectivity of 100, then you need to come out and restripe. I want something that's bright. I want something that works. We're getting rid of the little bots dots, the ceramic markers that you can't see at night. Someone in Mr. Bots Dots, developed it in CalTrans. But it doesn't reflect. You can't see it. You could feel it, but you can't see it. So if we have a retained value that you could see it at night. We're doing a wet reflective. We're so serious about it that we're going to stripe the entire state. Basically, we're going to stripe all of I-5. If you don't know what that means, you got a little pad in there that has the bear on it, and I saw that. It's from Oregon to Mexico. We're going to do all of the entire state of I-5. We're going to do of all of 80. We're going to do all of 99. We're going to do all of 101 by this time next year. Actually, by the end of October of next year. That's the plan. Spend $195 million to make sure we can see the stripe. Why do we want to see the stripe? 1, it's a safer thing to do. 2, we lose about $50 million in tort liability because we have a crappy process. Sorry, hon. We have a bad process for looking at our stripe and engaging it because we don't know what the reflectivity is. We don't require one. And so that's an easy target for someone in California that gets hit to say it was a bad stripe, pay me now. So we want to modify that. I think one of the things that we got pushback is some of the people didn't want to do it. Why? Why do we want to do it? We don't need a 6-inch, it costs too much. Well, what's the value of that? Some people don't want to get rid of the bots dots. And I said the bots dots aren't even reflective. And so they're trying to push back with bots dots, but if I look at the autonomous vehicles, right now in California you got 42 vehicle companies that have applied to pilot test autonomous vehicles in California alone. I got the numbers on disengagement. Disengagement meaning the person in there was autonomous but had to take over the wheel because of a disengagement. 66% of the disengagement is because the machine could not read the bots dots. Now, I'm not doing it just for the autonomous stuff. People say, oh, only the rich people will be able to afford autonomous vehicles. I think some of you probably now even have, a vehicle that could park itself. You could put it in cruise control and it'll stop. Lane departure. But if you don't know where you are in the lane or you can't read the stripe, it doesn't help. How do we get forward to that? We're working on pilots right now to have sign-embedded signs. A sign within the sign that we can't see, but infrared car can actually see the sign. It says, we see it says wrong way driver. It reads a code. The code comes back to the car, and it could say it's a wrong way, you're going the wrong way. The car could read it. We can't see it, but the car could read it. We have wrong way drivers all over the place in California especially. We're getting a lot of information on or a lot of accidents related to it, and we're getting pressure put back. Says, what are we doing for wrong way driving? Infrared camera, sign, embedded in a sign, be able to see it, read it, and then maybe it slows the car down to 5 miles an hour so it can pull over, but now it's not a head-on at 50 and 50 or 50 and 75. CHP, what do they do when a car's coming 75 the opposite way? Slow down? It's really hard to enforce. But if we can get that technology, I'm also asking them, okay, instead of just relying on a sign-embedded sign, why can't we make a marker, a reflective marker? We have them throughout the state in some areas where it's white and yellow, but it's a reflective red on the back. I don't want just a piece of tape. I want a vehicle to be able to read that marker that says you're going the wrong way, so it slows down or forces you to stop. How many of you go 25 in a school zone? How many of you see the sign that says your speed is 48 and it's 25? But if you have an autonomous vehicle that can read that, it slows it down to 25. There are no distractive autonomous drivers. There's no DUI autonomous vehicles. So one of the things I had is I had a researcher call me up from a big known school. And they wanted to do a pilot test. They have a new product and they wanted me to help with it. And they asked me a question. They said, why are you so interested in autonomous vehicles at CalTrans? Autonomous technology. I said, well, I was starting to get offended. And I said, is that a trick question? Why wouldn't I be at CalTrans? And I said, in the state of California, we have 1,200 people killed every year. 85,000 injuries every year on our roads. I did the math on my cell phone this morning, and it's basically 10 an hour. Accidents or injuries. Basically in my talk, 4 people just got injured in California, maybe 5. He says, well, what do you expect? It's a big state. I said, well, I expect 0 deaths. That's my goal. And he kind of chuckled and laughed, not laughed, but I could hear it. I said, whoa, what's wrong with that? And he goes, well, that's a pretty ambitious goal. I said, well, what number would it be for you? For you to be a success? He goes, well, I think maybe 50% reduction, and that's pretty successful. And so we gave a talk, and I did get a little upset at him. We did finish the conversation. We might do a pilot. But I sent him an email. So I asked him, I said, what's your goal? He said 50%. So I sent him an email with this video, and I said, 50%? Question mark. And I sent him the video.
So last year, 348 people died on our roads. What do you think would be a more acceptable number?
Acceptable? 70 maybe? Probably 70.
Can you send 70? Actually, this is what 70 people looks like.
It's my family.
So now what do you think would be a more acceptable number?
0. 0.
So I come here and talk to you not only about equipment, talk about innovation, not talking also about how big we are at CalTrans, autonomous vehicle, maybe it's a hope to get to 0 deaths. The things that you're doing every day, I know you're awesome at building and maintaining equipment. I know you're good at and awesome at building and maintaining our roads and maintenance. One of the things we need to look at is we don't need to do it the way we used to do it. And there's more than just equipment and maintenance. It's really towards 0 deaths. That's what all of this comes down to. That's the key that we need to keep in mind. How do we get some of these parts to get to that? If that's not your goal, or a belief, or look at ways to try to make that happen, you probably need to find a new job and let someone else come in and help guide us in the right place. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week. Appreciate it.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.